Good morning, everybody. Great to see you all and great to be back in Blackpool again. I'd just like to start by, again, thanking El Crigg for what's going to be another fantastic event. I'd like to thank Blackpool for, again, being our hosts here today in this amazing venue. It's not very often you get to come and speak in a venue like this, so it's great to be back again. It's great to see so many of you here, and I think, is this the biggest attendance we've ever had? So biggest attendance we've ever had, so that's fantastic. And those of you that have been before will know that I often come up and talk about some of the work we're doing in DFT and sort of give a general overview of what we're up to. And I want to do that again today, but I also, as Kerry said, I have some specific things I want to talk about that might initially seem a little bit removed from the business of this conference. And I know that many of you here work in asset management and road maintenance and at the front end of our highway network and keeping our network running. And so me sort of coming here from Westminster and waffling on about connected services might feel a little distant, but it isn't. It really is about the future direction of our sector. So bear with me, and I hope you do find it as exciting as I find it. And as I say, it is great to be here. And as Kerry said, there are a number of DFT people here, not just from the local roads team, but from across the whole roads group within the department. There's quite a large number of us here. So those of you that think the DFT and government never leaves Westminster and never comes out into the country, you're wrong. There's lots of us around. And I suggest you really take that opportunity and engage with me and my colleagues over the next 2 days and have the conversations you want with us, because it's a great opportunity to do that. And it's a great opportunity for us to come out and see what's happening as well and speak to people like you and the community more widely and the sector more widely. Because the work that we do developing policy, the work that we do thinking about where government should go, what funding should look like, what government direction and policy should be, how we should support the local authorities and the wider sector, that work can't happen without a dialogue with you in the sector. We can't do that in isolation. Well, we could, but it wouldn't be particularly relevant. The relevancy of what we do comes from the fact that we can talk to you, have conversations like this, be in rooms like this, go to exhibitions like the one upstairs. That's really valuable for us, and that interaction is really important. So, why am I here today? Well, I want to start with a little bit of audience participation, because the thing that is interesting me particularly at the moment and setting, I hope, some kind of new direction for where we go is thinking about data and thinking about connected data. So I want to start by asking you all, who in this room owns a car? Put your hands up. And I'll be surprised if there are many hands that don't go up. Right. Now, I know that many of you were in the bar last night, and a few of you might be feeling a bit woolly, and that's your own fault. It's got no sympathy from me. And this is quite complicated, but do try and keep up. Put your hands back up if you own a car. Keep your hand up if you think you own a connected car. Put it down if you don't. Lots of people put their hands down. Right. Those of you that you put your hands down, do you own a car that was built after 2017? Do you own a mobile phone? Or do you have a sat-nav? Put your hands up if any of those apply to you. Lots of hands go back. You all own connected vehicles. Connected vehicles are now. This isn't about the future. This isn't about nuclear-powered space hoppers and what we may all be traveling around the country using in 2080. This is about now. It's about technology that is available now that we are currently not, in policy or practical terms, making particularly good use of. And there's lots in the way that vehicles are developing which have got us to the position where these opportunities present themselves. And my colleague, Daniel Nackby, is going to talk more tomorrow. So Daniel is my oppo. He sits in the International Vehicle Standards part of DFT, so he's interested in vehicle standards and vehicle technology, whereas I'm interested in infrastructure technology. So Daniel tomorrow is going to explain more about the work we've been doing to understand and use the data that potentially vehicles could provide. But my interest is, if we can get that, if we can get access to all the connected vehicles that are out there, all that data that's been generated by vehicles, what could we then do with it? How could we then make the life of you, and you all wear two hats in this room here. You are all, the ones that put your hands up, you are all personal, in your personal life, you are drivers, you are motorists, you are car users. We are all, whether we own a car or not, we are road users. We are also pedestrians and cyclists. We are all We all use the road network. But of course, you in this room also are professionally interested in the road network. You are road operators, you are road maintainers, you are contractors, you are one of a number of things. But the potential for connected data is to influence the lives of us in this room in those two ways, as individuals, as how we, in terms of how we interact with the network, but also as professionals in terms of how we do our job. So we need to think about this. We need to think about what this means. What does data mean? What can it do for us? How do we change it from being a very kind of abstract notion of connected data, whatever that might be, to actual stuff that makes life easier and better and more efficient and safer and all these other things that we want to achieve? Well, that's the kind of work that we're starting on. That's some of the things I want to talk about in a few minutes. But in some ways, the starting point for this is there are two parallel themes of development that we need to think about. And connected vehicles and connected data is one. And the other one that we're all aware of is autonomy. Self-driving cars, robo-taxis, Google pods, call it what you like. There is a separate area of development which has been led by colleagues in CCAV, the Centre for Connected and Autonomous Vehicles in the DFT, which is focusing on how you build autonomous vehicles. And actually, there is an advantage that they have in that we can all imagine what a fully autonomous vehicle could be. We can all imagine what a Google pod could be. We might not believe we'll ever get there. We might not think that that's technology that will ever really happen. That's your personal opinion. But you can visualize what that is. There is a kind of point on the horizon that thinking about autonomy, we can all focus on, that fully autonomous pod. And that makes the process of getting there simpler because it allows us to order the things we do and the policies we have and the funding we give because we can all see the point we're aiming at. Up to now, connected services hasn't had that same focus. It's been a very amorphous term. It means lots of things. It means there are lots of people using it to describe fundamentally different things. And it doesn't have that kind of point on the horizon that we can all look at and say, that's where we're trying to get to. And that's a problem because it makes it very hard for us to think about what needs to be funded, what development needs to happen, what standards need to be in place, what policies do we write, what advice do we give, what's the point that we're all trying to aim at, because without that point on the horizon, it's very hard to do that. And that makes it more challenging to deliver change and deliver the types of services that we should be able to deliver, because without that, we don't have a focus. So we're starting some work in the department now to think about what that could look like. Where could we get to with connected services? And this is work that we'll be developing over the next few months. Because I don't have a big announcement for you today. I'm not going to announce a new policy or a new direction. God forbid, I would be shot by the government snipers that are positioned around the building if I tried to do that. I'm not going to do that. My job today really is to start a conversation with you, to start thinking about what that future could be. Because it needs to be a conversation. We need to work together for us to understand what we need to deliver. Because this is about setting a strategy that works best for the sector, what delivers the types of services in the future that we want to deliver. And makes use of the fact that, as you will hear more about tomorrow, this is already coming. Vehicles are already moving in this space. You know, I asked you about who drives a car that was bought in the last 6 years, etc. If you bought a car in the last 2 years, you will fully appreciate just how unbelievably complex cars now are. How much communication capacity, how much computational and sensing power the vehicle that you drive has. That's here now. That's not the future. And we aren't. Government, we might like to think we're all-powerful, but we're not. You know, a bit like King Canute. You know, it'd be great if we could just say to technology, can you just stop for a few years while we have a think about all this, then we'll get back to you. But we can't. Technology is coming at an increasingly rapid rate, and we need to respond to that in a logical way. The way that we'll respond to that is by speaking to rooms like this and developing a common approach to how we use connected technology, how we think about it and what services in the future we can deliver, how that changes the day job, how that changes the way that we fund the job that you do, how that impacts in a positive way the R&D pipelines of companies, how it helps everyone to think commonly about what the future may look like. So that's where we're trying to get to. So we're starting a conversation around something called the Digital Vehicle Services Framework, DVS Framework. This really is about, as it says there, it's about developing a set of deliverable connected vehicle use cases. And I think before we start that, one of the slides talks about this, but we just need to think about some language here. So connected services are about how we use data in vehicles, either live or after the event, to inform the services we deliver better. And that may be about better asset management, it may be about better road safety, a whole range of things, connected services. When we talk about use cases, we're talking about areas that this could help. So connected data could help in better road safety, that's a use case. It could help in better asset management, that's a use case. Better fleet management, another use case. Within those use cases, then there are individual, what we're calling services, individual things that you could deliver that people will use. Individual things your vehicle could do for you, individual things that you as an operator could get data from to run your business, your services better. They are services. There we go. So connected vehicles are basically any vehicle of any age, and that is important, that can generate, transmit, and process data. Now, again, that's everything from a brand new £100,000 Mercedes that is basically a very powerful four-wheel computer, right down to a 1980 Ford Cortina with a mobile phone stuck to the windscreen. They're all connected vehicles. Their capabilities are different, but they're all capable of providing data into a wider ecosystem that can either be used to guide and inform and help people as they move around the network, or can be used to help you as network operators in the decisions and actions you take in managing that network. Connected services, how we use that data, what digital services can we form from that data? And the users of the recipients of connected services are all of us who want to use that by any channel they want. And that's key, because this isn't about the government saying, this is how it will happen. You will all download this government app, and that's how data will be provided. You will all use this government system, that's how it will happen. That's not the world we live in. In the same way that we're all free to choose whichever mobile phone and whichever network we want, but we still want the same services delivered over it, we realize that this will be delivered in lots of different ways, and many ways that we haven't even thought about yet, because technology moves forward. And that doesn't alter the basic principle that we want to use connected services more, but we don't want to be overly prescriptive about the medium by which we deliver them. So the DVS framework, as it says there, it provides a framework for how we think about those services. Sorry, excuse me. It allows us to think about what services we deliver. It allows us to think about the challenges that we will meet. And it allows us to do that in a time scale of kind of now to 15 years. It allows us to think in those terms about what we should be doing. And again, this is key. And certainly we think about autonomous vehicles. And I know that we are running trials at the moment. I was in Belfast a couple of weeks ago to see the Harlander trial, which is fabulous, a fully autonomous bus that runs on the road network. There is talk about autonomous taxis coming to the UK in 2026. These things all might happen, but it's quite futuristic. The point here is that connected services aren't. Connected services are here now. And if you're using a sat-nav, if you're using Waze, if your vehicle has some way of warning you about speed limits, adaptive automatic speed advice, these types of services, it's already delivering connected services. But this also allows us to plan for the future. What is the art of the possible? What could we do if and when we were able to access data more freely? Now, some of you may be aware of some of the jargon in this space, and we talk about V2V and I2V and V2X and all these types of ways of describing how data flows. I2V is really important. So I2V is infrastructure to vehicle. How do we get data from infrastructure to vehicle? But also the other way, how do we get data from vehicle to infrastructure? And if we do that, what's the point of that? What does that allow us to do better? So we're now starting to think about this in three streams. We're thinking about a stream of services that require data from the infrastructure into vehicles. And that then allows you to do all sorts of things like provide people with advice about when traffic signals ahead of them will turn green, about roadworks ahead, about obstructions in the highway, a whole range of things that could be displayed on the screen inside vehicles once you can get infrastructure to vehicle data. Now that's key for us as a sector because we are the infrastructure. We are the people that own that data. Or we should be. We are the people that own the road network and manage the road network. We should be the single source of truth. Now, of course, there's a challenge there because we're not really doing that at the moment. Companies like Google and others, and I don't want to pick on Google, but they're the one that springs to mind. Companies like Google and others are already building inferred databases. They will already tell you that they have a database of where the speed restrictions in the UK are. They've inferred that from cameras in vehicles. They've inferred that from other data sources. The one thing you can say about that is it's probably not right, because we all know of places where speed limit signs are in the wrong place or missing, or speed limit signs in some places are wrong. The single source of truth is the data that we as local authorities own, because that's the data that comes from the traffic regulation orders that describes the actual restriction. That's the data that should be used. That data sits in the infrastructure. That's the data that we should be putting into vehicles. And then there are huge amounts of other data. We're already seeing services that allow information about roadworks to be shared, information about incidents and road closures. There are companies now developing software that will automatically develop diversion routes on the fly when you close a bit of road. That data exists. There's a lot of data in the infrastructure that we could put into vehicles. And as vehicle users, that's really important because that makes our journeys easier. As road network operators, that's important because that potentially makes the network flow more reliably and more effectively. The second stream is the reverse, data in vehicles that could be of use to the infrastructure. And this is about, we've all heard about the fact that vehicles have cameras and they can detect things around them. Vehicles can detect harsh braking. We're aware of things like e-call, which will automatically contact the emergency services and initiate a 999 call if you have an accident. There are lots of things you can do, but there's lots more we can do. There's lots of data potentially in vehicles. There's lots of data potentially within the vehicle manufacturers that will be really useful to us as infrastructure managers. And Daniel will talk more about this in e-call and some of the other things tomorrow, because this is really the kind of vehicle-led side. But we have two challenges here. We as infrastructure owners, we know what data we have, but we don't really know that much about how vehicles work. So that is a difficult conversation. Vehicle manufacturers know an awful lot about vehicles and what data vehicles have, but trust me, we've spoken to them. They know very little about how the infrastructure works. There are two conversations there that we need to have to make this happen more, make the way that we use data more reliable, more effective, and more wide-ranging and more common. And then in the future, there will be more complex services. There will be services, and some of these have been demonstrated now, that allow your vehicle to automatically pay for parking, automatically pay road tolls, automatically do a whole load of other complex things through a two-way negotiation with the network around where the vehicle is, what the restrictions are, what payments it needs to make. In the future, there will be services that allow us to do that, and allow the vehicle to just get on and deal with that, so you don't, as a driver, need to worry about whether you've remembered to pay the toll to cross the Humber Bridge this morning, or whether you've paid your curbside parking charge or whatever. In the future, that will be possible, but that needs a lot more development. It's really stream 1 and 2 that we're focusing on now, because that's the low-hanging fruit. They are the things that we can deliver now. And so, in stream 1, we think of, well, we know the road. We can describe the road geometry and the regulations, so we can offer strategic information into vehicles about roadworks and closures, diversions, disruptions, sources of height information, so low bridges, narrow roads, weight restrictions. All those types of information can be put into vehicles. And we can put tactical information in. We can develop systems that provide glosser, green light advice, which is the systems you may have seen that give you indication of how long the traffic signal in front of you will stay green. We can put incident alert, and we can warn vehicles about blue light. So we've... Was that me saying blue light? I'll do it again. Blue light. No? The blue lights will be with us very shortly. That was an example of a blue light warning. But no, we've already tried systems where the vehicles that we drive around can have systems in them that warn us when there's an ambulance or a fire engine in the vicinity. And any of you that have been to the TTF events that we organise at UTAC, the Connected Vehicle Days, will have seen us demonstrate that. If you've been, great. If you haven't been, go to the TTF website. There are videos that show you some of these services in action, because, as I say, these are things that can happen now, and we've already demonstrated that. The reverse is also true. So vehicle data. Vehicles know more than we sometimes do about road surface condition and environmental conditions, because they're out there driving around collecting data in real time, and there's thousands of them, millions of them doing it. Vehicles know an awful lot about situational awareness. The vehicles know how fast they're traveling. They know when they're queuing. They know when they're being driven in a particular way. They know when they're struggling for traction. They know when the road is flooded. There's lots of things that modern vehicles with all their sensors know, and they often know it faster and in more detail than we as operators do. So there's a huge potential there to take that data and use it. In the future, as we think about modeling, as we think about how we can use computers to build digital twins of reality that allow us to make decisions faster than real time, allow us to test scenarios and test things before we implement them on the network. Having vehicle data that allows us to put proper data into those models, into those digital twins, makes them more effective, makes them more realistic, and gives better decision making. So regional planning, modeling, bus priority, all other types of services could be improved by better vehicle data. And then, as I said, there's a whole range of services around parking, tolling, other things you could do in the future that will undoubtedly come along, and we need to be thinking about because they will be the future, but they're not there yet. As I said before, we already use connected services. SatNav, who doesn't rely on SatNav nowadays? That's a connected service. Bus optimization, bus priority and real-time priority systems have been around for 25 years. Systems that tell us where buses are, systems that allow traffic signals to be preempted to let buses through. That's connected technology. The bus is connected to the network is connected to the bus. Safety and traffic information, I think I bought a Vauxhall in about 1990-something that had Traffic Master. You pushed a button and a voice told you where the queues were, generally after you got stuck in them, but not fantastically useful, but it was a connected service, and that's improved, and that's still improving now, and there's still lots of services that do that. EV charging is a connected service. EV chargers will tell you when they're occupied. If you have an EV, it will tell you where the available charging bays are. That's connected service. Enhanced maintenance is starting to come along, and we're starting to see, well, not just maintenance, but insurance as well. We're seeing black boxes. We're seeing technology that allows the vehicle to make an informed decision about what maintenance it needs and when, based on being connected. These are all happening now, so this isn't about the future. And there are lots of opportunities. There are lots of things that we've trialed. So these are things that we've trialed and we've done at places like UTAC that could happen very easily. In-vehicle signage. If you've got a mobile phone in your vehicle, fantastic. If you've got a modern vehicle with acres of digital screens in front of it, that digital real estate, that screen could be used for putting proper information. Not just showing you the album cover of the album that you're currently listening to on Spotify, but it could actually give you real information about your journey. The technology all exists. The plumbing is in place to do that. Glosser, green light optimized speed adaptation. Works. It works and we can use it, and it does, and certainly for heavy vehicles, it does save money because it keeps them flowing more smoothly through busy networks. Roadworks warning and hazard notification are all services that can happen. How are they going to happen? Well, we're building a framework, and the digital services framework is thinking about the different collections of services that we could deliver as a country, these use cases. What are the key areas of activity, both in local highway authorities and nationally, and in terms of road safety and fleet management, and other things that we're not that interested in, like fleet management and fleet maintenance and things that sit in the automotive sector. But there are a range of areas where connected services could and should in the future make life better. Within those connected services, is that going to happen? Come on. Let's push it. Oh, there we go. Within those use cases, we have groups of services. So you could say a use case is road safety. There's a road safety use case. There's lots of stuff we could do around road safety. Or asset management, that's more relevant, isn't it? Asset management is a use case. There are groups of things we could do in there. There are groups of services we could provide around understanding road surface condition, about understanding, winter maintenance issues. There are a whole range of things that you could imagine. And I'm being vague and slightly airy about this, because I don't know what these could be. And that's the conversation we need to have. As a sector, we need to understand what are the potential opportunities for using data to provide better services. There are groups of them. There are groups of services, and within those groups of services, there are actual individual things we can do. And this is important because this is the level at which we go out to the public and we go out to the sector and we say, these are the services that within the next 5, 10, or 15 years we expect to be delivered. As a government, we're not going to tell you how to do that. technology will evolve, people will find different ways, but what we want to do is get to a point where we have a set of services defined in the UK that are the things we want to deliver, that we can go out and talk about in simple language and say, this is where we want connected vehicle data to get to. And this gives us that point on the horizon. This gives us that point where we're then able to say, that's what we're aiming for. These are the things we're aiming to deliver. And as a sector, we need to define them. As technologists, we need to work out how they will be delivered. We need to work out what the standards are. As public authorities, we need to work out how that fits into business as usual, how we use that, how we support it, and how we use it to make our business processes more effective, more efficient, whatever. So that's an example. That's an example of a service. And this is the way we will describe services. We will describe services narratively in plain English. Because the point here isn't to talk about ISO standards or whatever. It's not to talk about it in detail. It's to talk about it in plain English so we understand what we're talking about. And when we develop this list of services, it might have 200 or 300 entries in it, describing all the range of things that connected data could do, but written in those terms. So that from a whole range of perspectives, from the perspective of a policymaker or a technology developer or a service user or a service owner, you can understand what the service aims to deliver. Vehicle connectivity makes it possible to provide real-time notifications warning to built-in systems and vehicle occupants about possible hazards. That's simple. How you deliver that will be different, and the way you deliver that in a brand new Mercedes and a 40-year-old Ford Cortina will be different. But the users will expect the same service. And a good analogy of this is how mobile phones work. So the reason we're not talking about technology is because the technology will kind of work itself out, in the same way that many of us now use WhatsApp. And you may use WhatsApp on an Android phone. You may use WhatsApp on an Apple phone or an iPhone. The technology that delivers WhatsApp is fundamentally different because those are fundamentally different ecosystems, fundamentally different operating systems. But the service that you provide that you could describe in plain English, you could describe WhatsApp in those terms. And that's what you want as a user. You want that plain description of what the service does. You don't care about the underlying technology that allows it to work on your device or somebody else's device. And this is the same kind of principle. We're defining the end use that we get, not the technology, because the technology isn't something that policymakers like me should be involved in thinking about. That's a challenge for the sector. But we should have a national list of these because that gives us all a common point to aim at. So there we go. In a use case, you could say that actually, so there are a whole set of use cases there. These are the use cases that we think apply. So you can imagine, for this room here, then things like safety and emergency, traffic management, support for authorities, fleet and logistics possibly. These are the use cases that we as this audience are particularly interested in. And there are plenty of other rooms like this who would be interested in other ones. But those are the kind of high-level use cases that we're now thinking about. And within that, we then start to develop a detailed list. And this is blurred on purpose because I'm not revealing this yet. But what this demonstrates is this process that we're going through of developing this, as it's currently called, the Excel from hell, which is an increasingly enormous spreadsheet that starts off by thinking about use cases and service groups and then has detailed descriptions of what each service will be. And this will be a very long list. And then it talks about some of the actions that we need to do to deliver all this. This is where we want to get to. This is where by the end of this year, maybe into next year, we want to get to in having a list that we can then all talk about and think about. And that then gives us that kind of manifesto for the future of the development of connected services because we have a whole series of services that we know we can deliver. And we can then pick and choose, and we can think about, well, which services can we do now, which services can we do later, which services need a lot of investment in the future, what services need new comms or new policies or new legislation. There's a whole range of things, but once we have this list, we can start to think about all that. And we're not doing this in isolation. This list starts on some work that the United Nations Economic and Social Council for Europe developed. This brings together lots of European work. It brings together lots of work that's happened across the world so that we end up with a list that is customized and relevant to the UK, but not so unique that it then makes it difficult for us to interact and share data and share vehicles and share services across our neighbours. And the full list of services is being developed at the moment. That's why I'm here. We're starting this process of socializing it, doing what I'm doing now, talking to you about the principles, trying to get us all thinking about the principles of connected data so you can help, you can be part of this conversation to ensure that list, when I'm able to show that list in an unblurred format, it's a list that we all buy into, and it's a process that we buy into, and it's a list that we buy into and accept as being the vision for the future. So that's kind of where we are. Kerry mentioned the Transport Technology Forum, and I am kind of contractually bound to mention that because I always do. The TTF, which hopefully many of you know, is the forum that the government owns, operated by LCRIG, very successful. We have events throughout the year. It's the forum that we in government use to talk to the sector at a whole range of level about a whole range of subjects. But the TTF will be the place at which this conversation happens increasingly. If you've got any interest in this, and I hope you all do, and I hope this hasn't been too sort of jargonistic, I hope you understand where I'm coming from with all this, but if you've got any interest in this, either as a user or as a developer or whatever, the TTF is the place to be to engage with us, to ensure that when that list is available and when we finish this work, it's something that we can all buy into and will set the future vision for where we are. So, thank you very much.